Hey there, gun folks. Let's dig into something you might not see coming. The humble .22 long rifle. That little round you probably got rolling around loose in a drawer might just be the most dangerous cartridge floating around America today. No joke. Most folks figure it's for plinking tin cans or teaching the grandkids how to handle a rifle. But this unassuming little slug's got a history of punching way above its weight. From tales out of the history books to some eye-opening modern-day ballistics, it's got a backstory that'll make you look twice before calling it just a beginner's round. So buckle up. We're about to break it all down with some straight talk, a few jaw-dropping stories, and maybe a bit of gun nerd humor tossed in for good measure. Like and follow Beam Firearms if you're into this kind of deep dive content. Let's get after it. So, what makes this tiny round such a big deal? For starters, it's got a funny way of showing up in situations where you'd least expect it. Picture, this lawman trooper, Mark Coates, rolls up on a suspect. He's carrying a .357 Magnum A hand cannon by any standard. Coates lands 4 solid hits, center mass, 4, and the suspect stays on his feet. Meanwhile, the guy pulls out a little Derringer A pea shooter by comparison, chambered in .22 long rifle. One round slips through a soft spot in Coates's vest. That's all it took. Game over. Hard story to tell, but it drives home a truth that don't get said enough. Shot placement beats raw power every time. That little .22 found its mark and did what 4 Magnum slugs couldn't, or take the attempt on President Reagan's life back in 1981. The shooter used a Rum RG-14 revolver chambered in, you guessed it, .22 long rifle, just a cheap little Saturday night special, the kind most folks wouldn't trust on a squirrel hunt. But one of those rounds ricocheted off the limo, slipped under Reagan's arm, and damn near killed the President of the United States. A bounce shot from a round folks don't think twice about. That's the kind of trouble this cartridge can stir up when you don't give it the respect it's earned. Here's the straight truth. The .22 long rifle is dangerous not just because of what it can do, but because it's everywhere. ATF stats put it as the 3rd most common caliber tied to crime guns, right behind 9mm and .40 Smith and Wesson. Why do criminals love it? It's dirt cheap, easy to get hold of, and slips into a coat pocket without a fuss. On top of that, it's quiet. You don't need some Hollywood suppressor to hush it down. Out of a short barrel, it's already low profile. That's why it's a go-to when folks don't want to draw eyes or ears. But let's take a look at what this little round can really do today. I ran some tests with Federal Punch .22 long rifle, a cartridge built for self-defense, not just plinkin squirrels. This ain't your granddad's tin can ammo. It's a 29-grain, nickel-plated flat-nosed slug designed to go deep, especially out of snub-nosed carry pistols. No fancy mushroom in here, just raw, straight-line penetration. And it brings the goods. Out of a Taurus. 942 with a 2-inch barrel. You're seeing 1,050 feet per second and 15 inches of penetration in ballistic gel. Swap to a Ruger LCP, 2 light rack with a 2.75-inch barrel, and you're clocking 1,123 feet per second and 17 inches deep. Step up to a SIG P322 with a 4-inch barrel, and you're hitting 1,221 feet per second and passing 18 inches. Even a Ruger Mark IV Light with a 4.44-inch barrel tears through gel at 1,238 feet per second and digs 21 inches deep. No failures. No duds, just clean, deep tracks every time. Now I know some of y'all are sitting there thinking, but there's no expansion. How's that going to stop a threat? Here's the deal. With the .22, it's all about hitting the vital stuff and the driving through. Heart, lungs, spine, you name it. My test run showed wound cavities around 2 to 2.5 inches early in the track. That'll ruin someone's day real fast. Throw 4 layers of heavy clothing over the gel, and you only lose about an inch of depth. For a round folks call weak, that's downright eye-opening. And it ain't just a lab story either. The 22 long rifle's got a track record in the real world. It's taken lives in crimes, accidents, and incidents where folks underestimated it. They thought, hey, it's just a 22, and that's when it turns on 'em. I've seen it happen. I've watched folks at the range chuckle about it, then turn pale when you lay out how many folks that little round's dropped. Underestimate it, and you do so at your own risk. And once you suppress it, it gets even trickier. Out of a short barrel, it's often subsonic on its own. No sonic crack, just a soft pop. Throw a can on there, and it's quieter than your hunting buddy snoozing by the campfire after a long day. I've shown how a suppressed 22 pistol sounds like a puff of air. That's why it's been favored for quiet work for good and for bad since way back. Point is, this little round's got layers. Let's get practical. Say you're picking a self-defense round. Is the 22 long rifle top dog? Nope. If I had my choice, I'd still reach for a 9mm or a 45. They hit harder and give you more room to be off by a hair. But don't go dismissing the 22. If it's what you've got, or what you can shoot without flinching, it'll do the job. Federal Punch proves this round's come a long way from just popping tin cans. Shot placement is the name of the game. Hit the right spot, and it don't matter if it's a 22 or a 50 BMG. The threat goes down. I've heard stories straight from folks who've been there. Got a buddy who had to deal with a strung-out intruder. All he had was a Ruger 10-22. Put a couple rounds center mass, and the guy dropped. Wasn't clean, wasn't pretty, but it worked. That 22's got a habit of bouncing around inside a body, too, making more of a mess than you'd think. Now, I wouldn't go banking on that, but it's a thing worth knowing about. So, who's this round for? Maybe your hands ain't what they used to be. Maybe recoil knocks you around. Could be for your wife or your kid just learning the ropes. Or maybe you just want something light you can carry all day and not even notice. A 22 pistol weighs next to nothing and still packs enough to make a difference. I ran tests against Barrier's cloth, drywall, and it kept right on chugging. It's not too shabby for a round folks call a toy. It shines on critter duty, too. Rabid dog wandering into the yard, coyote sniffing around your chicken coop. That 22 will handle it in a tight spot. It's a survivalist's best friend, lightweight ammo, high capacity, and it'll bring in small game when supper's on the line. Just don't go chasing bears with it unless you're a deadeye and cool as ice. So why call it the most dangerous? Well, it ain't the deadliest. 9mm still wears that crown, but the 22 long rifle, it's a sleeper. It's cheap. It's everywhere. And most folks overlook it. They don't respect it till it's too late. Criminals love it, cops hate facing it, and the rest of us, well, we'd be wise to give it the respect it's due. Train hard, know your piece. And don't let the size fool you. That little pill's got a sharp bite. And don't forget concealability. A 22 pistol, like the Ruger LCP, too light rack is so compact, you could drop it in your pocket and forget it's there. Now try that with a 45. It's like hauling a brick around. For folks who need to stay low profile, whether it's hitting the gas station after dark or carrying daily in a rough neck of the woods, the 22 long rifle changes the game. You're armed, but you ain't advertising it. And with modern loads like Federal Punch, you're not just carrying a bluff. You've got rounds that hit deep enough to make anyone think twice about messing with you. Now let's talk about training. If you're new to shooting, or trying to get your family comfortable around firearms, the 22 long rifle is your best pal. Recoil, just a tickle. Cost? You can burn through a day's worth of rounds and still have cash for supper. I still remember my first time at the range with a Ruger 10-22. Ran through a whole brick 500 rounds and my wallet didn't even flinch. Try that with 9mm or 40 Smith & Wesson, and you'll be living off ramen for the rest of the month. That low recoil lets you zero in on the basics: trigger control, sight picture, breathing. Lock those in with a 22. And you're already halfway to running any other gun smooth as silk. But it ain't just for beginners. Seasoned shooters keep us 22 in their lineup, too. Why? 'Cause it's a blast. Plinkin steel with a SIG P322 feels like cheatin', so easy to stay dialed in. And when you're drillin' transitions, reloads, or weak hand work, you can run it hard without your wrists barking back. I've seen guys with decades behind the trigger yank out a Ruger Mark III Lite just for fun and grin like they're 10 years old again. It's simple, it's useful, and it keeps your edge sharp. Now, let's shift gears and look at the tactical side. That quiet report from a .22 long rifle ain't just for sneaky types. It's a real asset when you're trying to handle things the smart way. Say you're out in the sticks and something's tearing up your chickens or messing with your livestock, a suppressed .22 pistol. Or rifle, say a Ruger. 10-22 with a can lets you sort it out without rattling the whole valley. I ran a demo once with a suppressed rig, and the loudest sound was the bullet hitting steel. That ain't just slick, it's strategic. Less racket means less attention. Handy when you're trying to stay low profile, solve a problem, and not announce it to the world. And don't overlook the versatility. The .22 long rifle fits just about any platform you can think of. Pocket pistols like the Taurus 942, target shooters like the Ruger. Precision rimfire, take your pick. Looking for a one-gun solution for your bug-out bag? A takedown-style .22 rifle fits that role like it was made for it. You can haul thousands of rounds in a backpack, easy. Try that with .308 and see how far you get. It's good for small game, holds its own in a pinch for self-defense, and in a worst-case scenario, it's even got trade value. I've got a buddy who jokes that his .22 stash is his apocalypse currency. But if I'm being honest, he ain't wrong. Now, let's talk straight to the doubters. Some folks will tell you the .22 long rifle's underpowered, unreliable, or only fit for taking out squirrels. Sure, it ain't a .44 Magnum. If you're facing down a wild hog or somebody wearing body armor, you'll want something heavier. But that ain't the point. The .22 long rifle ain't about brute force. It's about precision and opportunity. My testing showed 0 failures to feed or fire with Federal Punch across several handguns. That's the kind of reliability you can count on. And when you place a round where it needs to go, that's all she wrote. I've heard more stories than I can count. Cops, hunters, everyday folks who've seen a .22 end a threat right then and there. It's not the size of the slug, it's the skill behind the shot. Let me share a little story from the range. I was helping a buddy's wife learn to shoot. She was flat out scared of recoil. We started with a .38 Special, and she was flinching before the trigger even moved. Switched her over to a SIG P322, chambered in .22 long rifle, and by the end of the day, she was stacking shots like a champ. That's the magic of this caliber. It builds confidence. These days, she carries a Ruger LCP2 and sleeps better, knowing she's got a tool she can handle. That's the kind of difference this little round can make. So what's the real takeaway? The .22 long rifle's dangerous, 'cause it's deceiving. It's that quiet kid in the back row who turns out to be a black belt. It's cheap, which means it's sitting in every gun store, every pawn shop, and more than a few glove boxes. Its small size makes it easy to carry without shouting it to the world. And when you put in the time and learn how to use it right, it'll do work just as well as calibers twice its size. To me, this round's a bit of a paradox. It's a trainer, a defender, a small game getter, and a troublemaker all rolled into one. Thinking about carrying it? Don't let anybody shame you out of that decision. Is it my top pick? Nope. I still reach for my 9mm when things get serious, but if a .22 is what you shoot best or it's all you've got, then you're still in the fight. Train like. Your life might depend on it, because one day, it just might. And if somebody calls the .22 a toy, just smile and let 'em wonder. This little Rimfire's been proving folks wrong for over 100 years. And it ain't slowing down. The legacy of the 22 long rifle ain't just in ballistics charts or war stories. It's about what it stands for, the freedom to choose your tools, the confidence to defend what's yours, and the truth that even the smallest round can make a big difference. So grab your Ruger, your SIG, or whatever 22 you've got and hit the range. Respect the round, sharpen your skills, and keep it honest. The 22 long rifle might just be the most dangerous thing you'll ever underestimate. If you got value from this breakdown, give us a thumbs up and think about subscribing to Beam Firearms. We're here to talk gear, guns, and the values that keep our community strong. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay safe, and stay ready. Lock and load, we've got more coming.